Hello friends, thanks for joining me today. So last weekend I went to my local library because they were having a big book sale. My library is at the end of my route when I run outside. So during my workout last week, one of my workouts last week, I saw a sign advertising their sale coming up. They have sales a couple times a year, just selling books that the library wants to get rid of for like 50 cents to $1 each. Maybe some things are like $2 at most, but that's about as cheap as you can buy books anywhere, really. So I just wanted to kind of make this video to encourage you, if you like to buy books, to check out your local library, ask if they have any sales that they do during the year, and keep an eye out for them. I follow my local library on Instagram, so I get news that way. My library also has a section inside that's available year-round where they sell books for similarly cheap, like no more than a couple dollars at most. So I'd recommend, if you have a local library, to go in and see if they have anything like that. I thought it would be interesting and kind of fun to go through all the books I've gotten from these library sales. So I didn't get all of these at one time. I got a couple here one year, a couple there, over a course of a couple years. So I'm just gonna go ahead and show you and try and give you a bit of a synopsis of what it's like. I have not actually read any of these yet. They're all still on my TBR. So let's go ahead and get started. So first I have The Program by Suzanne Young. This is the first book in a series, and basically The Program is this, well, it's a program that kids are sent into if they have depression, basically. So suicide in this world has become a national endemic. So any parent who suspects that their kid might be depressed is sent through this program, and the kids who come out of the program are magically cured, but they're also kind of blank slates. There's just something wrong with them. They're not all there anymore. And I think it's following this girl who, well, maybe she does go into the program, but this girl who's basically like, oh no, I don't want to be erased. I don't want something bad to happen to me. And she meets this guy, and they're trying to kind of figure out, I think, the truth of what's going on behind the program. So yeah. Then I bought The Doors of Eden by Adrian Tchaikovsky, and I don't know a whole lot about this one. I think it's about these two friends who went looking for monsters on this moon, and one of the girls came back and the other one was lost somehow, but then the girl that was lost comes back, and I think, you know, where has she been all this time? And that's kind of all I know about it. Maybe something weird happened to her. But yeah, two girls go, one comes back, and then the one that was missing also comes back. So I read the Children of Time series, duology by Adrian Tchaikovsky, and I loved it. I thought it was great, really interesting, really entertaining. So I am very interested in reading more work by him. I got King of Scars by Leigh Bardugo, and honestly, so I have not read any books from the Grishaverse. So King of Scars is, I think, a duology following certain characters from the world of the Grishaverse. And the first book, I think the very first book in the series, is Shadow and Bone, which I do have and just haven't read yet. And actually, you can see on the book, all of these are parts of the Grishaverse universe, and King of Scars follows one of the characters from that. So I'm not going to be able to read this until I read Shadow and Bone, but I have it for when I'm ready, and hopefully I do enjoy it. If I don't enjoy it, then I will just donate this for someone else to read. But yes, I saw it, and for $1, like, why not? I guess I didn't explain anything about the Shadow and Bone series, and I honestly don't really know much about it. I think it might be like an urban fantasy. I don't know if it's our world or not, but there is magic. It's YA fantasy. Maybe it's like a heist story. Maybe one of them is, or maybe that might be Six of Crows, which is another duology set in the Grishaverse, but yeah. Then I got The Water Knife by Paolo Bacigalupi. Oh my gosh, that sounds so wrong. I'm so sorry if I mispronounced that name. I'd seen this a little while back, and I mainly got this because it reminds me of a book I read recently called Dry by Neil Shusterman. So this is about, it's a world where basically severe drought is going on. There's not a lot of water available to people, and water knives are people who cut water for people for distribution. So I think there's maybe a bit of I think water knives do work for the government, but there's rumors of this new water source in Phoenix, Arizona. So you're following this character named Angel, who I think goes to investigate this, and there's just a bunch of, there's death, there's maybe conspiracy, you know, people dying of drought and climate change. So I really enjoyed Dry. So I think having kind of had a little bit of taste of that sort of fiction, I am interested in giving this one a shot. Then I found The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. I am so nervous about reading this book. I would not have bought this book if it were not $1. So I hear that there are people who love this book. It's one of their favorite books. And then we have other people who are like, this is so boring, nothing happens, 1 star. And it's supposedly written very beautiful. It has beautiful prose. It's, I think, kind of a combination maybe of a love story, but it's basically this traveling circus comes and travels around the world, but there is sort of a maybe magical realism, or there is magic, and it's focused on these 2 performers or 2 magicians who are basically competing against one another in some way, and it takes place over the course of years, and you're following this traveling circus. And I tend to prefer books that have a lot of action, that are fast-paced, and this is apparently not that. It's very character focused, very slow. It's a very slow build up. So I'm scared that I'm just gonna be really bored by this, even though I've heard that it's, even from people who dislike it, they say, oh, it is beautiful, it's beautifully written, it's just so slow and boring. So I'm gonna try and go into it with an open mind, because I hear people love it, that it's beautiful, but we'll see when I get around to reading The Night Circus. Then I found the first 2 books in the Ember in the Ashes series by Sabaa Tahir. There's the first book, which is An Ember in the Ashes, and then book 2, A Torch Against the Night. And I actually don't know a whole lot about this. I think there's a girl, well, I guess I just have to read the back, I guess. So the main character is a slave, and then there's another character who is a soldier, and I think Leia, who's the slave, her brother gets into trouble. He gets arrested for treason, and in order to help rescue him, she agrees to spy for the Empire, for these rebels who will help her get her brother back. She agrees to spy for them by going into this military academy where she meets the soldier character Elias. So other than that, I know nothing about it, but I've heard good things. I think it's gotten good reviews and a lot of people like it. So yeah, found the first 2 books. And the last 2 books that I found are books that I've seen in many thrift shops over the years and just kind of never ended up picking them up. But that's the first and second book in the Discovery of Witches series by Deborah Harkness. So there's A Discovery of Witches, which is book 1, and then Shadow of Night, which is book 2. I think one of my best friends, I think I was inspired to pick this up because one of my best friends is currently reading the series and she really, really likes it. So I'm like, hey, again, these were both $1 each, hardbound, so I picked them up. And I think this is magical realism. I think it's a bit of maybe historical fiction. I'm not a huge fan of historical fiction necessarily, but you're following this character who finds this manuscript, I guess, this secret manuscript, and the main character comes from, oh no, she doesn't. The book is tied to witchcraft, and I think she inadvertently like summons creatures or something. When she finds this book, she kind of shoves it aside, and then suddenly creatures come out of the woodwork trying to find this manuscript, and one of them is a vampire. And it was at this point that my audio got corrupted and lost, so I was basically done anyway. That was the last book I had to talk about, so I didn't really have much more to say about it. So I know the book is kind of history based, there's magic, there is romance, I think, between the main character and that vampire character that I was talking about. But yeah, that was really the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed watching. I just have a lot of fun going to the library book sales. There are times where I'll go and I don't find anything that I want, but really for how cheap it can be, I think it's worth going just to see what you can find. You never know what you can find. So yeah, I encourage you to check out your local libraries and see if there are ways that you can get books for very cheap. And I will see you guys in my next one. Bye.